For this third and final deleted level, what we call the boar hunt sequence, this was a sequence pretty late in the game. It was right after the whole Seattle Abby sequence where Abby spares Ellie. And then we wanted to come back into Ellie's story, but keep it a bit mysterious of how much time has passed, where is Ellie now? So we're coming in on Ellie, and she's following a trail of blood. And we wanted to mirror, in a way, the deer hunt sequence from the first game, but this time do it with a boar. And there's something with Ellie that now she can't let go of this violence. She's pursuing it, even against this innocent animal. This was another opportunity to show how the violence that Ellie has experienced, the violence that she witnessed being afflicted onto Joel, is still sticking with her, and she's still experiencing these PTSD moments. This was a sequence that was pretty far along and was cut pretty late in production. Parts of it are still really rough, but the gameplay, the building blocks were all there. I think you'll have fun to see, like, again, a rough, unfinished sequence that you can play. You can see all the way to the end, and including a cinematic that we end up cutting. And the remnants of the sequence ended up being mentioned in Ellie's journal. So this part of the story that we developed still made its way into the game as kind of optional stuff that you could read about, but here you get to experience it. So as a reminder, this is pretty rough, months away from being finished, but you get to see it now.
So the boar hunt was one of the hardest levels for me to work on. It was a huge challenge with the systems that we had, and we kept trying, but it never felt quite right. Originally, the level happened after the Jackson Festival, which also got cut, but before Farm. Once the festival got cut, it became the prologue to Farm. The intended experience is that we jump forward in time after the fight with Abby in the theater. We don't know where Dina is. We likely assume she's dead because she was just bleeding out. Ellie is alone. Her hair is short. So maybe this is the future or the present. And she's hunting. Hunting who? Abby still? In early iterations of the fight, it was more arena-like. The player slowly whittles down the boar's health. Ellie gets more visceral and more vicious. We get a little worried about her. As the boar gets weaker, more panicked, more feral, and we start feeling sympathetic to the boar, was the hope. In all of these iterations, especially of these wider areas, it required custom AI and scripting to make sure it continued to feel organic as an animal, but we really needed it to do specific stuff. It needed to be able to close distances really, really quickly. It needed to charge to attack, but we wanted the feeling of hunting, so we needed to track it down from afar. And we also needed to discourage the player from attacking the boar when it's that close, or it would kind of turn into this melee kerfuffle. How do we do this in our world while keeping the boar believable? We must have gone through 5 or 6 iterations of the boar fight and all, and every single time it changed pretty drastically. We split it into clear phases, where one was like all long range. We tried another where you're getting close and you get the jump on it quite literally. You're jumping off of a rock to attack it. And then finally, we tried a bunch where you almost sort of go around a bunch of trailers and try and wrestle it. We uncovered after some time that taking down a boar over several phases felt very laborious and a little dramatic. It was comically long, it felt too boss-like, a little too gamey. We decided to cut the first few phases, and we opted for a cold open after the boar had already been hurt off-screen. So that allowed us to focus on feeling like we're closing in on prey and to introduce the boar when it was at its most dangerous. Already hurt, already feral, much too close for comfort. And so the thinking was it would bring us more into Ellie's mindset. Is this really hunting for food, or is she hunting for some other reason? The gas station was built to highlight the boar's destructiveness. Since it's cramped, the boar feels larger. We also feel trapped with it, though perhaps it's trapped with us. When it charges, it gets to us quickly, so we must be on our toes. This made it more aligned with Ellie's sort of hunting for trouble mindset. Listening became more important, as well as moving around slowly so it didn't hear you. Could you spot it before it saw or heard you? And could you get a shot off quickly enough so you could dodge out of the way? Or is the shot worth the cost after? It feels like a gamble. By the end of the fight, everything would likely be in shambles. The boar would burst through the back, and Ellie would follow it and finally enact revenge.
It's over. Nowhere to run.
The boar kill was supposed to be anything but glorious. With the boar whimpering at the back of the gas station after Ellie's relentless hunt. After this, hearing the drone that we kind of come to associate with Ellie's trauma, we would hard cut to the stream where she's washing her hands and holding rabbits that she hunted, about to return to Dina. And there would be no mention of the boar.
can't let you leave.
Hi, I'm Neil Druckmann, and I was the director and co-writer.
Hi, my name is Hallie Gross, and I was the co-writer and narrative lead.
I'm Ashley Johnson, and I play Ellie.
Hi, I'm Troy Baker, and I played Joel.
This whole scene came about because we were trying to figure out how do we recap the previous game just enough for people that haven't played it, or might not have been so many years they don't even remember it. So we thought, oh, Joel could confess to Tommy.
And this was, I don't know why I dug my heels in, and I was like, I do not agree with this. And I had such a problem with it because I felt like this was a secret that Joel was going to take to his grave, and he would just bear this sin. And it wasn't until we were on set, and I'm sitting across from Jeffrey, and I'm watching him just listen to Joel. And every take, we went deeper and got better, and more truth came out.
It's really small, but you're right, it's really powerful and intimate of this exchange between these brothers, of just how far they've come since he's rejoined Jackson.
Yeah. It's become one of my favorite scenes. The meticulousness of this task of fixing up a guitar. And I remember you saying specifically is like, you're really trying to get the grime out. And to me, how that mapped to what he's trying to do in this scene with this conversation is I'm just trying to get every last bit of dirt out.
In the original game, we didn't cut to a close-up of Joel and seeing like what was his emotional state coming into that operating room.
That look from Tommy.
What do you do?
I love this right here. I saved her. And we wanted some darkness around that statement of like, The implication is I did whatever I needed to do to get her out of there.
And the justification, that comes from that.
That is the central question, right? And I think that opening the game on that line is so important because Joel really does believe he saved her. And that's the question for Ellie throughout the game of, did he?
I remember just so much work we did on this soundscape right here of just leaving you with that kind of uncomfortable feeling of it was a good thing, but there was definitely a lot of darkness around it. It's a great scene for Tommy as well. And now he has to carry the weight of this thing that his brother did. Right now he's not feeling great about it.
That's so. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
He's also a family guy, so on some level he gets it.
What does Ellie know?
And he gets obviously he knows what Joel has been through and why that decision was so important for him.
I told her they just ran some tests.
There's something to me that hits me every time when Ellie rolls over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I caught it as much. I think I was aware of it. Like, Neil, you being a parent, you're more familiar with some of those gestures than I was, or I am now. Traveler will do this, where he will, when I put him to bed or whatever, and he's ready to go to sleep, or he needs to be alone with his own thoughts, he'll do that turn. And it never really hit me that that's what Ellie is doing, is just, okay, I'm done talking about this now. I just kind of want to be private in my own thoughts.
Which is also an interesting juxtaposition that's happening here, is we're getting to see the moment he was lying to her while he's confessing the truth to his brother. And the differences in those two relationships now. And it's, despite how much they've been through and how much Ellie has become an equal of sorts, he still sees her as his child. And if he has to lie to her to protect her, he will. It was important to get this final handoff of playing as Joel one last time as this beautiful sunset ride towards Jackson before we fully kind of hand off the baton to Ellie. Oh, this is the mask break.
I remember just fighting. I was like, I just have to make sure her hands never touch the mask.
I remember talking to you about this, Neil. Like, you were like, it's like she's committing suicide in front of you. Is like what it is.
Oh,
like,
yeah. As far as you know, she is.
Yeah, and so that's where that reaction came from. Was he was like, she's killing herself in front of you. Is what it looks like to you.
There's this progression that with each one of these like revenge kills, we wanted Ellie to lose more and more of her humanity in a way that she doesn't even understand what is happening to her. So you could see a lot of this, and again, I love how you play this, which is you're amping yourself up. You kind of know what you're going to have to do here. and having the willpower, again, to hurt someone to such a degree.
Yeah, there's a bit of a trying to stall a little bit. Like, maybe there's some other way out of this.
There are no fireflies anymore.
Where's Abby?
Yeah, now we're at a point where she thinks all she needs is Abby to feel better about the whole thing.
And that's where it feels like you can feel that she's still a kid, because she's looking for this thing to try to fix it, and that's not it.
It's interesting to think about the scene from Nora's perspective, which is like how much she's willing to sacrifice to try to help her friend.
Mm.
She's bracing herself because she knows what's
She
coming.
knows.
Like, Nora's a pretty commendable character
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
other side.
And it was important just to add this little bit of interactivity to make the player complicit in this.
It's not gonna work. It's completely covered in snow.
Nah, by the time we get there, this whole area will be thawed.
Yeah, this is a bunch of obsessed characters, except for Jesse. Jesse is the most moral character in the story.
What are you guys doing?
That all have to accept
Couldn't sleep.
that it's time to go home.
Come take a look at
That
this.
it has to be okay if
God is to head home via Ellen.
some of them get away with it.
We're in Fall City by tomorrow. We're doing good.
It's like these two, they have to convince each other.
Hey. They got what they deserved.
Yeah,
But she gets to live.
so much, so much pent up energy under that line.
He's still not on board. He's like, well,
There is something interesting about how, like, Ellie doesn't see
Is that okay?
living as the punishment it is. Like, living with loss is the punishment it is, even though it's destroying her. In a weird way, for Ellie, like, it would almost be... She's suffering so much, and there's no peace, but she doesn't see that enough to say, I'm okay with Abby living with that level of suffering.
oh, yeah.
And losing
Oh, yeah.
everyone she loves. Like, I've made her life miserable. And that would be the triumph.
Yeah, in her mind, it's like she doesn't know what life she's living. She doesn't know what burden she's carrying. She's like, any kind of life, she hasn't paid the price for what she did.
It's funny, and yet Ellie is incapable of living herself, right? She's incapable of...
I know what
Yeah.
gold
It's interesting.
And this is Tommy just trying to make light of the whole thing.
Can we say it's from all of us?
Ha! You find your own damn bribes.
I really like this, the relationship between Ellie and Jesse and just how much respect they have for each other. I really like this moment right here.
How you doing?
Jesse's just kind of the best. He's the most mature, level, reasonable guy.
Ellie.
And Steven is such a cool dude.
Yeah.
Such a cool
He's
dude.
just
He's like
super
a-
chill and like, he's kind of like a cowboy.
Yeah, and
he's
he's
got,
like so
a-
positive too. He's
Yeah.
even when he'd be like, I'm real tired. Real tired.
Because over the course of the game, he went from like newly married to having
Several
triplets.
children. Yeah, I think like several children.
My friends can't get out of their own damn way.
It's like my friend's problems are my problems. Like, and he puts everybody else over him.
He would have been a great baby daddy.
And no good deed goes unpunished.
Ugh.
Hands in the air, I shoot this
I love how abrupt it is.
Me too.
Get out of here. Stand up now. Don't you fucking dare. Shut the fuck up.
This is one of the few scenes that Ellie and Abby are together. And when we're making the game, it felt like we're making two very separate games with two different casts of characters. And then when they combine, it was such a strange feeling.
Toss your weapon.
I know why you killed Joel. He did what he did to save me. There is no cure because of me. I am the one that you want.
And she doesn't get it.
Just let him go.
She doesn't know what this is about.
You killed my friends. We let you both live. And you wasted it.
Cut to black. Oh, this was a tough one to write.
Oh, yeah.
How is he doing this? Hey, do you think maybe he could convince your mom?
If she saw him like this, she'd strangle him with her bare hands.
The conflict between love and duty, of like the love a mom should have for her kids and the duty she has for her religion.
I heard some of your people calling him Lily.
I like here that Yara is the practical one. She sees the world as it is, and she sees the consequences as they are. And in some way, in another universe, she and Abby would be wonderful enemies because they are both strong, myopic soldiers, right? But for Yara, the risk to Lev's life is worth giving everything up.
I told him he had to keep it to himself.
And the guilt, right? This guilt here.
I was hoping he'd snap.
Well, it's that it's also Yara has greater love for Lev than their mom had for Lev. That this moment that she's describing here is what made her lose faith.
One of the men was suicide.
And we don't talk about it, but I think the difference that I see between Yara and Lev is that Yara has lost her faith, and Lev has just refocused it, went back to the origins, to the writings, and sees how it was corrupted.
So stupid.
This is another one of those scenes. I thought Victoria here just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we find something to cheer him up?
I like these in these action games, sometimes having a goal of like, oh, let's find a toy to cheer up a kid. And that becomes your gameplay objective.
Get down! Abby, what the fuck?
Manny?
You by yourself?
Yeah.
I like the dynamic between Abby and Manny.
This sniper's a fucking bro.
Just a couple of bros.
A couple of bros.
We were supposed to hit the island tonight. Then this pendejo showed up.
Tommy's so
I sent the
cool.
guy to call for help.
It's so interesting how very few players guessed that this was Tommy right
Oh,
here.
really?
Yeah.
I need one of those boats. Now.
Just because it's been so long and you forget
forget,
about there's
yeah.
a whole other cast of characters that are on this island, and now these two stories are starting to merge.
Right, at first it feels coincidental, like, oh, she just happens on Manny. It's like, no, Manny was targeted. The revelation, it's Tommy.
What? No wonder he was so good.
Like, oh right, this whole other game that's happening finally collides. If you don't see a character die on screen, you should always question their death. That music is so ominous. Like how she's just burying the death of her friend.
Yeah.
Just stay again. She has this very narrow, focused mind.
And the realization that it's all gonna come crashing down.
And the guilt, I would imagine, right? Like, the thing I would be burying in that moment is, oh, that's that guy? Oh, I'm complicit in the death of my friend.
Our main characters collide, or about to collide.
I think one of the things that makes Laura's performance here so special is that this character is so hard and so terrifying, but in every scene where Laura is scary, there's also this patina of vulnerability, of fragility that's coming through, where you can feel that she's quaking with rage, but there's so much complex stuff happening underneath that rage. It's really great. You're not bad.
It's funny because it's the same way I feel about Ashley's performance. So there's always this.
Just that rage feels so real.
She's so good too, like fucking one shot.
And from her perspective, it's Jesse's an NPC.
Yeah.
He means nothing to her.
Stand up! Now!
Don't you fucking dare!
Shut the fuck up! All right, stop! Stop!
What is so beautiful here, or tragic, is that Ellie doesn't get it. Right? What Ellie's about to say here is like,
I know why you killed Joel. He did what he did.
well, he did it to save me. There's no cure because of me.
And Abby's like, what?
Not
It's
about that. I don't know how much Abby cares about it. It's about her dad.
You killed my friends.
Like, I showed you mercy.
And you wasted it.
And players were so uncomfortable here. Like, I have to go up against Ellie now. And this is very much by design.
Who is scary.
She's wily, but you're beefy.
Stay here. Watch the exits. Don't let her leave. Owen?
This scene turned out to be a bit more controversial than we anticipated.
The irony here is, as much as this is the counterpoint sex scene to Ellie's sex scene, we don't... Oh, I guess we do show a little more.
We show a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, but I love this interplay between you two. And
I see.
yeah, we really wanted to give Pat something meaty. And this monologue, which he just, for my money, knocked it out of the park.
Danny's dead.
Of like visualizing this moment where he just can't do this violent thing anymore. It's not him.
You want to tell me what happened?
I like that she's been strung up and beaten and almost killed, and none of that's important right now.
Camp. It's just a couple scars and.
I just got to come in and sit down and watch him work.
And he goes down, and his weapon's right
and this
there.
idea of the tribe within a tribe, and
doesn't go for it.
there's no secrets between these two.
Instead, he turns to me. And he's old.
The idea that he's just been sitting here drinking, conflicted, and I mean, he's about to leave his baby mama. That's how much he can't stay in this place. He feels like he's losing his soul. And this look right here, it's like there's a part of Abby that knows what he's saying is true. But that sense of duty to this group that has taken care of them is still there, but starting to erode.
I couldn't do it. Of course, Danny gets in my fucking face about
Well, we're watching her maturity in real time.
Especially having come off of seeing two Seraphites up close and saving them too.
So I grab it, and then
I like that there's so much like unspoken between them that's about to come to the surface of like Abby thinks he's so naive and he thinks what she did was so awful, but clearly they've never talked about it until now. And then there's the underlying love they have for each other and obviously attraction. It's all like, it's so messy. I like the messiness of this relationship. And it would have been like, I know our goal here is to create empathy for Abby, to show you the other side of this journey. And this definitely was a risk to say, okay, she's going to have a sort of affair with this guy that got this other girl pregnant, her friend.
The fireflies aren't.
But this primal thing that's going on between them just overpowers logic.
it's a lead.
And to me, that was more important to create empathy, is to show how human they are than to just make them righteous or right the whole time.
No, they're trying to define good in a gray world.
What about Mel?
And that means they have to make messes.
This little pause, that's a nice bit of acting.
She'll be safe here.
Okay. We'll talk in the morning when you're sober.
Don't do that.
Do what?
Treat me like I'm fucking insane. You feel the same.
He knows her more than she knows herself.
If the fireflies are in Santa Barbara,
I go the opposite fucking
And
direction.
the resentment that she has for the Fireflies, because in her mind, that's part of the reason her dad died, is...
They failed her.
Yeah. They failed in every way.
Yeah.
Sorry I grew up. You should try it.
It's just the insulting and just...
Oh yeah, how do I do that?
This notion that's like your best friends can hurt you the most.
Cut into them? I could torture them until they're crying, you know?
And the flash of violence here, of anger, is like... Abby never talks about it, but clearly she is haunted by what she did to Joel.
Yeah. And he's finally seeing that.
Yeah, and then once they touch, it's over.
I think they're both incredibly lonely characters.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in this other relationship, but clearly he's lonely, and he's been longing for her. And I know people ask this question, why show this? Why you could end the scene right here.
I disagree, though.
But I disagree as well, because I think it's important to show the
conflict.
vulnerability, how vulnerable these characters can be with each other. But there's also, again, it's messy and dirty and loving and a little violence at the same time.
My philosophy on sex scenes is you should take them to the point where you've gotten all the information needed or the emotional evolutions needed. And in this case, I think you needed to see her conflicted and give in.
Yeah, surrender to the moment.